Tonight, Sinestro comes out of retirement for one last job. What is that job? I don't know, the writer left it really vague, all things considered. Two different books introduce us to Alika, the Amazonian warrior who is an absolute bitch all the time. And following the events of Forever Evil Blight, I guess you could say that Pandora is still trying to find her legs. That's funnier in context. All that and more tonight on the Not So New 52. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 137 of the Not So New 52. I am your host, and if you're hearing this message, I'm here. And I know that seems obvious, because where else would I be? But here's the thing, for those of you who actually listen to me as I ramble on before each episode, I am currently on vacation, if you are watching this within about a week of its release date, and I wasn't sure if I'd be able to get to this episode. I thought this might have been the first time I missed a week. And for all I know, I might have still missed a week, because as this episode is supposed to go out, I'm going to be half a world away from my recording area, my editing software, but more importantly, the computer I do uploads through. So if there's anything that went wrong with the upload that I just didn't catch, it's possible this episode's not going to go out as it's supposed to. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that you're going to see this on April 16th. Is that right? Yeah, April 16th. And everything's just going to be normal and hunky-dory. But there's a chance it might not be. So either way, let's not worry about the what-ifs. Let's just assume everything went according to plan and this episode went out as normal. I did it. Hooray to me. Give me a round of applause. So I'm going to go ahead and just list off the comics that we got here, because as much as I've been padding out this intro, this episode is already definitely too long. So we have, in no particular order here, Batman, Batman and Robin, Batwoman, Birds of Prey, Harley Quinn, Red Hood and the Outlaws, Supergirl, Green Lantern New Guardians, Justice League, Wonder Woman, Pandora, the new weekly, which is Batman Eternal, and a brand new ongoing series, Sinestro. So yeah, that's a whole lot of stuff, 13 comics to get through, and I went over on my allotted time for pretty much every single one of them, so supersized episode this week, at least most likely. I don't know what it's going to be until I edit. Here's hoping for the best. Anyway, enough rambling from me. Let's go ahead and get this episode over with, because I got a plane to catch. Sinestro number 1, written by Cullen, Bunn, art by Dale Eaglesham. So, I believe the last time we saw Sinestro was Forever Evil. But before that was at the end of Green Lantern, Geoff Johns' run of that, where he was infused with the power of Parallax and then just disappeared and no one knows what happened to him. So, we open up in Forgotten Space. There's a temple, and Sinestro's monologuing internally, saying like, yeah, this place was a place of like religion and faith and stuff like that. And if I had been around here, maybe they wouldn't have all died out because of their stupid faith. Because in their last moments, I'm sure their faith betrayed them, and they all felt fear at the death that was coming after them. So he's in like a robe and stuff like that. There's a fire going on, and he's like, yep, I'm totally alone here. Except for a giant space tiger that's sneaking up behind him and is looking like it's about to kill him. And Sinestro's like, yeah. These tigers have been attacking me the whole time I've been on this planet, and I've been beating them back one by one. But slowly, they're learning. And like this time around, they're sending in like the weak in order to wear me down so then the strong can come in. And like they're using flanking techniques and whatnot. They're starting to learn how to instill fear in me. But it ain't working, because I'm Sinestro, goddammit. So we just see him beating the crap out of this tiger thing. And he's doing a pretty good job, but he does look like he's about to get killed here. And then all of a sudden, there's a giant yellow light, and Sinestro's like, oh god, who is this? And out of the light comes Lyssa Drax, who is basically saying, like, Sinestro, I found you after all this time. What are you doing here in isolation? You should be out doing bigger things. And Sinestro's just like, get out of here. I don't want anything to do with you. I'm done with all that. And we learn that somewhere in the middle of everything that happened here, Sinestro defused with Parallax. He let Parallax go. It doesn't say why. It just says he was fighting for control, and then he said, screw that, and Parallax is gone. So Lyssa's basically saying, like, yeah, hey, here's the thing. The universe needs protection. The Sinestro Corps is going way downhill with you not at the lead. And he's like, why should I care? And she's like, I'm getting to it. So Arquillo is obviously taking the reins while Sinestro is gone. He's leading the Arquillo Corps. And they're making just tons and tons and tons and tons of new yellow rings. And he's basically giving them out to anybody who will bend the knee for Arquillo, regardless of whether or not they're actually, you know, terrifying. So at that point, he's saying, yeah, he wants to go fight the Green Lanterns, but he doesn't have control of his own ship. He's going to get overthrown. It's all going to be chaos. And Sinestro's just like, I don't care, bye. And he starts walking away. And we get a little bit of him saying, like, yeah, since I was with the Green Lanterns and then the Yellow Lanterns, I lost my wife. My kid won't talk to me. My whole planet exploded. I don't really want to do that anymore. And Lyssa reveals, okay, but you should know there's this threat that's definitely going to be coming up. It is this cult called the Paling. They're an anti-emotion religion, I guess, group, whatever you want to call it. Point being is that they are a threat to the entirety of the universe, and they need to be stopped. And so you definitely need to go in and stop them. And Sinestro's like, what, you can see the future now? No, I don't believe that. I don't care. And she reveals that the Book of Parallax, which held all of the history of everything about the Yellow Lantern Corps, was destroyed. And I vaguely remember that. But turns out that she now has all of it written on her body. And as such, she's now able to see the fate of the Sinestro Corps as well. So she's like, this is what you got to do, Sinestro. It's all part of your thing. And he's like, oh, gross. You got tattoos. I don't like that. So then she pulls out the big gun and says, all right, if none of that matters to you, the fate of the universe, the fate of the Yellow Lantern Corps, I also have that some of your people, the Corrigarians, survived the destruction of the planet. And Sinestro's like, I'm sorry, what? How? And it's like, well, turns out people didn't like you when you were ruling the planet, so they left. And as such, they kind of are just floating around the universe. But now they're being rounded up and prosecuted against because you're a dick, and they associate them with you. And Sinestro's like, okay, if my own people are being slaughtered and attacked because of my stuff and the fact that I'm not intervening, I guess I need to go intervene. So he feels a tiny bit of fear in thinking that his people are being attacked, and as such, his yellow ring jumps into action. It gives him a suit, but he's only got like 2% power, and he's like, okay, this isn't enough to do anything. And she's like, don't worry about it. And she just moves closer to Sinestro, and all of a sudden, he's at 100% battery, and he's like, oh, okay, you actually got some like power now. All right, I can dig that. Let's go. So they head out into some random sector where a space station is sending out pods full of sleeping, like cryogenic people. And Lyssa's like, yeah, your guys are definitely there. But Sinestro's looking inside the pods and it's like, no, none of those are Corrigarians. And it's like, no, they're still on the spaceship. So they go into the ship. And it turns out that these people are sending these people asleep in pods out as sacrifices to the Palers, the anti-emotion cult, as kind of like a penance, a sacrifice, so that they aren't attacked by this group. And as soon as Sinestro comes in saying, like, where are they? He's just like, we just sent them out. We just sent out your sacrifice. And Sinestro's like, no, I'm not with the Palers. And he's like, oh, you aren't? Thank God. Those guys are scary. You don't seem that scary by comparison. And Sinestro's like, all right, well, screw you, bud. So he just opens up the airlock and tosses him out. Lyssa's got all the Corrigarians. Turns out there's only like 5 of them. And he's like, whatever. It's a start. I've got to get them safe. But the only way that I'm going to be able to get the rest of the Corrigarians around the universe is if I have some serious firepower behind me. So I need to go and get the rest of the Yellow Lantern Corps under control. So Lyssa leads them over to this, I don't know, comet thing, whatever. It's a big rock in space. And he points out like, oh, geez, they're hiding out in here. This is so beneath them. And Lyssa's like, right? I know. They need you. You need to be in charge. But of course, as soon as Sinestro walks in, Arkillo and the rest of the Corps all come out being like, I don't see a leader here. All I see is a man who turned his back on us. And there ain't no way I am ever going to let him take back leadership ever again. This is my Corps now. This is the Arkillo Corps. You suck, Sinestro. I hate you. And Sinestro's like, dude, you've already tried leading the Corps when I've been gone, and you suck at it. So yeah, there's no way you're ever going to stand a chance against the Green Lanterns if that's really your ultimate goal here. And Arkillo's like, yeah? Oh, yeah? Well, clearly you haven't been reading Green Lantern Corps, because check it out. And he shows that he has kidnapped Soren Iknatu, a.k.a. Sinestro's daughter, from the Green Lantern Corps. And Sinestro's like, Sorenik? And she's like, hey, Dad, still hate you. So that's the issue. That's issue 1. All right. I mean, I'm good with it. I don't know. It's definitely a setup issue. It's definitely a thing of like, all right, look, we're assuming you know who Sinestro is. We're going to give you some vague background stuff in case you just aren't familiar with like what he's doing at the moment. But for the most part, this is just setting up. Here's what the Palers are. Here's what Arkillo's been up to. Here's all this other stuff going on. And now we are finally set to go into the plot proper next issue. So overall, it's not a bad issue, but it definitely is functional over form. I'm going to give it a... I'll give it a 6.5. I was going to say 7, but like, as much as I love the Dale Eaglesham art, it does look good. It is definitely essentially just like a skippable issue. The only thing you need to know is Sinestro's back. Like if they just had a whole page, one page that just said the word Sinestro's back, that's it. We could have started with issue 2 at that point. Justice League number 29, written by Geoff Johns, art by Doug Mahnke. This is another tie-in, the final tie-in to Forever Evil. And last issue we had Cyborg showing up to get the Metal Men. Will Magnus saying, no, I won't make them again. Cyborg says, get over it. And he's like, okay. So we open up in Will Magnus's lab, and he's remaking all of the Metal Men. And he's just like, just to be clear, they were not built to be superheroes. They were built to be like search and rescue. They are not going to be good enough to take the place of the Justice League. You get that? And Cyborg's like, I get that, but like, if I can lead them, I'm sure that... And Magnus is like, let me stop you right there, bud. The Metal Men do not take orders. And they open up the pods, and all the Metal Men hop out, and they're all looking at Cyborg, and they're like, what is this? Is that human mixed with robot? That's weird. Oh, hey, Doc. Last I remember, we were all being killed. What happened there? And he's like, well, you all sacrificed yourself for the greater good, but your response meters survived, so therefore I am able to bring you all back. Gold, you cost a crap ton to remake. Platinum, you were even worse. So they all start ogling Cyborg, and they're just like, hey, man, what are you made of? What's that metal? What can you bench? Are you human? Are you robot? What's going on there? And Cyborg's like, okay, hi, I'm Cyborg. My body's made of promethium. And they're like, this sounds like a made-up thing. And he's like, yeah, totally. Anyway, so he runs down the whole situation. And I mean the whole situation, back to like Trinity War. He's like, there was Atomica, and she was a spy for the crime syndicate, but then I had a virus in my body named Grid, and it separated out, and it left me almost dead, and it became its own thing, and now I have gotten my own body back, and I need you guys because Grid can't sense you because you're off the grid. Okay, cool, great. We're going to go save the world. Is everyone cool with that? And the Metal Men are like, hell yeah, saving people's what we do. Let's just point the way. Let's go. So they make some sort of hover device out of their bodies, Will Magnus goes along with, and they make their way to Happy Harbor, which is right outside where the Justice League Watchtower fell to Earth. And he's like, all right, look, we can't go all the way to the Watchtower. That's going to be too risky. We're going to make our stand here. So they land. Cyborg tells Magnus to get out of here. He's like, nope, I live or die with my Metal Men. And Cyborg's like, all right, I just need to get Grid out here, so let me just taunt him a little bit. Cyborg walks over to an ATM. We see what Grid is currently doing, which is to say the events of Forever Evil 6 are beginning, where the team is breaking into the watchtower, and then Cyborg looks up at the thing and is like, "Hey, Grid, can you sense me?" And Grid's like, "Yeah, you're alive. That's weird. I'm pretty sure I killed you." And he's like, "Yep, come and get me." And he smashes out the ATM thing. And as the rest of the scene is playing on, Grid just abandons whatever's going on in Forever Evil. He makes his way over to where the ATM was. He just lands there. And Grid basically says, like, "You can't hide from me." And Cyborg just shows up, lights blaring. He's like, "I'm not hiding." And so he starts fighting Grid. And Grid's like, "Oh, stupid of you to come alone." And Cyborg's like, "You really can't see them, can you?" And he's like, "Who?" And then all of a sudden, Iron and Lead have teamed up into a wrecking ball that just smashes Grid into a nearby building. And Magnus calls over the comms with being like, "Iron, Lead, you guys cool?" And they're like, "Yeah, boss, sure is." And Grid's like, "Oh, well, I can hear the communication systems, and now I know where everybody is, because they've all got communications." And Magnus is like, "Crap, probably should have thought of that. All right, everybody, just pile on them, do what you can." So everyone starts throwing punches, whatnot. Grid shrugs them all off. Mercury finally gets in there. He's like, "Hey, I'm the only metal that is a liquid at room temperature, which means I can get inside your body and, like, mess up your gears and stuff." So he gets inside, and seemingly it works, but then Grid does an electric shock and manages to get Mercury's responsometer out of him. And Grid looks over it, and he's puzzled. He's like, "Wait a minute, hold up. Because they're all freaking out. They're like, if that thing gets crushed or whatever, then Mercury's going to be killed." And Grid's like, "Hold up. Not only did you make a bunch of robots that can die, but they can also feel? Well, hot damn, that's my whole character arc. I want to know how to feel. Tell me how this thing works." And they're just like, "No." And he's like, "All right, fair enough." So he summons in the secret society using his teleportation ring. And Magnus is like, I mean, just to give a blank thing here, we got Simon, Goliath, Gizmo, Hector Hammond, and a few more I don't recognize. And Magnus is like, "Oh, well, like 3 out of 6 of those are telepaths. They won't have any effect at all on the Metal Men. So we're good. Just beat the crap out of them." So the big fight starts there. Cyborg is once again locked in a one-on-one with Grid. And he's just telling Cyborg again. He's like, "Hey, man, seriously, though, tell me how they feel. I really want to know how to feel." And Cyborg's like, "Well, you just have to have hopes and dreams and care about something bigger than yourself." And Grid's like, "Nah, that doesn't sound right to me. I don't like that at all." So he puts a plug into Cyborg's head and says, "I'm just going to take the ability to feel out of you." And all of a sudden now we're in the digital universe, which is literally what they call it. It's just VR, pretty much. And Grid is basically taunting Cyborg, saying like, "Yeah, the moment that you were made to be Cyborg, you were like brought into the digital universe. But then your very first thought was, I don't belong here. And then you came back into the real world. But that thought is exactly the moment that I was made as well. So I've just been hanging out here in the digital universe, and I know how to handle myself better than you do here." So Cyborg starts throwing punches and stuff. He's like, "Nah, man, this is all zeros and ones. I can just like disappear and reappear behind you. You don't know anything about it." And he starts taking off Cyborg's like cybernetic parts and just stripping him down to his actual human bit. Like, he looks like a normal person. And Grid's like, "Yeah, no, beneath it all, you're not really a machine. You can't handle yourself here. I'm the one who can handle myself, and I'm going to take your life, and maybe then I'll be able to finally feel something, whether it be happiness or regret. I'm going to feel something." So back in the real world, all the Metal Men are fully taking care of the secret society and just like, "All right, well, they're locked in like a download upload thing going on, so we're just going to chill and watch that happen." So inside, Grid's whole-handedly beating up Cyborg, and he's like, "All right, I'm bored with this. I'm going to rip the flesh off your bones now." And he tears off Cyborg's face, but then underneath it is Cyborg again, like with the metal bits and whatnot. And he's like, "You done yet? Because I'm going to do my big thing now." And he rips off his own like flesh to show that he's still Cyborg underneath. He's just like, "I'm not human or machine. I am the bridge between two worlds. I am Cyborg." So he's now able to get the upper hand on Grid. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm able to do things you can't imagine because I am both things." And he manages to basically take control of the digital universe and cut Grid off from the outside, including to his own body. And he's like, "I'm just going to leave you here in the dark, man. Peace." And Grid's like, no, please, I just want to feel. And so Grid's body falls down. Cyborg's still good. Metalman's like, did you delete him? What's up? He's like, no, he's still alive in there somewhere, but like he has no way of interacting. So as long as nobody ever interacts with him, we'll totally be good. Nobody put a USB stick in that. So at this point, Steve Trevor shows up. And for anybody who was reading Forever Evil Argus, he basically shows up and says, hey, for anybody who wasn't reading Forever Evil Argus, I have Wonder Woman's lasso. I got Killer Frost with me. If we can get to the Firestorm Matrix, I can do a psychic bond with Wonder Woman because we got a special thing like that. And get her out of there along with everybody else. And then all of a sudden, Steve Trevor gets zapped by a bunch more villains that just show up. And Steve's unconscious, and Cyborg's like, all right, Metal Men, you keep on fighting these new group of people. I'm going to go save the Justice League. And he picks up Wonder Woman's lasso and says, to be continued, Forever Evil number 7. Okay. Very fast pace. Very much like, okay, we're done with that now. I like what they're doing with Grid here, and I do feel like they give him enough time to really flesh out, pun intended, what he's doing. But I don't know. I kind of just still wanted more. It's nothing that this book inherently does. It's like, you know, you have to eventually catch up to the rest of the story. You can't just continue on saying, oh yeah, and Grid's in the background forever. But I don't know. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more than Cyborg is the bridge between the world of humanity and snooze. Like, I'm used to that. I maybe this is one of the first times it's like done here, but I don't know. I feel like I've seen that story a dozen times. So yeah, overall, it's not a bad ending. I like that the Metal Men are set up. I like that we are leading directly into Forever Evil 7. But beyond all that, it's if it weren't for the fact that it was in Justice League, I'd say it's totally skippable. But if you're going to be reading Justice League anyway, then it's fine. I'd say it's like a flat 7. It's nowhere near the best stuff of this arc, but it's not awful either. Batman number 30, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. This is the first part of the third part of Zero Year, aka the part that everybody thinks of, Savage City, where the city's all overgrown and stuff. So last issue, Riddler blew up a bunch of bombs because Batman didn't outthink him, and then Batman like also exploded. So we pick up on a dream sequence / flashback as we have before. Bruce Wayne is in college. He's tapping on the window of a Miss Julie Madison, who is implied to be his girlfriend. And he's like, hey, Julie, you want to go walk in the garden? I bought a bunch of manga that you like to read. Let's go. Let's do this. And she's like, Bruce, I'm up on like the 3rd floor. How you doing this? And he's like, I'm rappelling down. Seriously, this is dangerous. So all of a sudden, as he's looking at Julie, she's got a bullet wound in her forehead and she's just dripping blood everywhere. And she's like, what's wrong, Bruce? So then we see Bruce wake up and he is inside of an unfamiliar bedroom. He's got just a cot and an IV tube in him. And he's just like, what the hell is this? And then he goes out. There's a young boy there who we find out is a young Duke Thomas. And Duke's sitting there doing the Sunday crossword. And he's asking Bruce like, hey, do you know a 7-letter word for fraction? He's like, hey, I'm Bruce Wayne. What in the hell's going on? And he's like, oh, yeah, we found you were passed out. We got you an IV drip, hoping you would wake up. And he's like, how long was I out? And he's like, well, it's the start of the new year. And Bruce is like, I'm sorry, it was summer when I passed out. And he's like, yeah, well, now we got a different calendar. And Bruce opens up the curtains to see outside, and he sees the entire city is overgrown with Riddler signs all over town. And we see Jim Gordon making his way through the ruins of the building, and he's on this communications with somebody. And he's like, copy, is anyone there? Please, we're running out of time. And Bruce continues talking to Duke, and he's like, hey, can I borrow your phone? And he's like, well, I mean, whoever you're going to call, Riddler's got all the phone lines tapped. He's going to hear you. He's like, not this phone number. I know a special number. And he calls up Alfred, and he's like, hey, Alfred, I survived. And Alfred's just like, oh, thank God. Jesus, man, you scared. Where have you been? And he's just like, I don't know. Last thing I remember is I took off my business suit and I tossed it aside and then I just blacked out. And Alfred's like, okay, let me give you the rundown. So The flood ruined like 9% of the island, like beyond repair. The rest of it is just completely overgrown. Riddler's using some sort of tech from a Miss Pamela Isley in order to speed up the growth. He's got bombs on all the bridges. He's flooded all the tunnels out. He's got balloons full of deadly gas that if anybody from the outside world tries to intervene, he'll gas the entire island. So no matter what, he's in charge. And Bruce is like, how in the hell did Riddler get this much tech? Like, this didn't come from Bruce, like, Wayne Enterprises. This is from, like, some other place. And he deduces that it comes from Powers Corporation, but, like, it doesn't matter. So Alfred continues saying, like, yeah, okay, so here's the deal. A lot of people stood up to Riddler to begin with, but over time, less and less and less. And right now, nobody's standing up against him. And we see Jim as one of the few people who's actually got the will to do it. And we see him watching as a group like parachutes down onto the roof where he is. And Bruce is upset as he's talking to Alfred. He's just like, I failed the city. I failed. Batman failed. And Alfred's like, totally, definitely happened. Here's what you need to do now, though. He doesn't have any idea about the access to the waterways that you had via your old setup. You can get out of the city. You can tell them what they need to know. You can set up an escape thing. You can help this city from the outside. Don't face him as Batman, because if you lose, like you've already lost the past 2 times, it may actually kill you. So, good. Bruce just hangs up the phone. He goes over to Duke, and Duke's just asking about more crossword clues. And Bruce is like, hey, kid, maybe we should like focus a little bit. And Duke's like, no, here's the thing. Riddler has this thing where he shows up every day at sundown on the big screen and he challenges people to give him a riddle that he can't solve. And if anyone does that, Riddler will give control of the city back. He'll just let it go. That's his entire end game here, is to make Gotham smarter. So Duke is like, everyone thinks I'm crazy for trying, but I'm going to go through these puzzle books until I can outthink the Riddler. Like, that's what I'm going to do. So cutting back over to Gordon, the people he watched coming down from the parachute is a group of like strike team, like tactical gear guys. And Gordon's like, yo, I was promised like the whole damn army was going to be coming in here to free Gotham. Why is there only 5 of you? And it's like, oh, we're doing a more tactical thing. Don't worry about it. And Gordon's like, what do you mean don't worry about it? He's like, look, we're with the government, so we don't have to listen to a police captain who works with a crazy psycho in a bat suit. So we're just going to do our own thing here. But then Riddler pops up on the screen and he gives a little spiel. He's like, hey, Gotham, give me a riddle, something I can't solve. But nobody steps up and he keeps going on. He's just like, oh, the world is going crazy out there. It's rising tides and like overpopulation and whatnot. All I did was put Gotham 10 minutes into the future. And I'm hoping that means that once you guys get smart enough, you can go out and you can save the rest of the world. Because saving the world is a riddle that even I can't solve. So what you gonna do, man? Where's the hero of the story hiding? And we see Bruce seemingly going down into the waterways to escape the city, as Alfred said. And as Riddler's yawning, he's like, all right, nobody's going to step up today. Whatever, see you tomorrow. We do have one man step up. And it turns out that he was the former corporate strategist of Powers Enterprises before Riddler stepped in to basically raid the cupboard. And he's like, all right, go ahead, give me your riddle. And he says like 3 words. He's like, there were 2 turtles. And Riddler just says like, both of them were blind. And Powers is like, I made that up. How could you have possibly known? And Riddler goes through the whole deduction thing saying like, oh, because you like jazz, I knew it would have something to do with sound and sight and whatnot. And therefore you get it. Anyway, you failed, bye-bye. And he clicks a button and we see a gate open up and drop Powers somewhere. It's not actually Powers. It's a guy who works for Powers. His name is Bob Chi. So everyone starts yelling at Riddler like, you're a maniac. And he's like, but I play by the rules. And speaking of playing by the rules, hey, Jim Gordon. And all of a sudden the lights come up over Jim and the strike team. And he's just like, you guys are trying to not play by the rules. What do you have to say for yourself? And one of the strike team steps up saying like, hey, we brought you $5 million in cash that cannot be traced. Also, they throw out this weird thing calling them amnesia bills of like their serial numbers do something funky. It's too much. But regardless, Riddler's just like, Why do you think I want that? That's not part of the game at all. How about this? If you want something a bit more simple, if this game's too complex for you, how about dominoes? And he controls a wrecking ball to knock over a building that is going to topple into another and eventually land on top of him and the strike team. And instead of letting them run, he surrounds them by a group of killer robot drones. And he's like, oh, they have motion detection. You might be able to move fast enough to knock out one thing and one thing only. So what's it going to be? Think fast. And they start thinking like, oh, aim for the one in front, aim for the one in back, something like that. But then all of a sudden a voice calls out saying like, aim for the drone above you. It's the eye in the sky. And all the strike team's just like, Gordon, I don't know who's yelling that, but you listen to your strike team. But Gordon doesn't. He shoots the eye in the sky. And then they all have to stand still as all of the other robots start attacking the eye in the sky because it's the thing that moved. And so as they start taking each other out one by one, Gordon and the rest of the group are like, okay, but we're still on the rooftop. How are we supposed to escape? And then we see Batman pop up, and he's hidden from them, and he knocks over a water tower onto a nearby building, so that way they have a bridge across, and they all leap across just in time to save their lives. And we see Alfred out in the Gotham Harbor. He's picking up the escape pod that theoretically should have held Bruce, and inside is a note saying, I'll catch the next one. And we see Gordon introducing his friend to the strike team, a crazy psycho in a bat suit. And Batman's like, yeah, that's pretty much right. So they shake hands, and he's like, all right, Gordon, I'm here to help. And he's like, call me Jim. So that's the issue. I like it. I think, here's the thing. This third part is by far what I would consider to be the strongest part of Zero Year. I think that it is the part that everybody remembers for a reason, because it's the most striking and it does like the most stuff to set up Batman here as Batman. So I like this setup. I know it has its issues as we continue on, and especially in the ramifications of the fact that like Gotham was completely destroyed essentially, but regardless, let's just ignore that for now and enjoy the story. Yeah, no, I like the ideas it's setting up. I like this thing of like basically Dark Knight Rises, but a year after it was made. So yeah, it's a solid one. I'm going to give this one an 8 for right now. I enjoy the start up to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of it goes. Batman and Robin number 30, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason. So last issue, Roz has taken the bodies of Talia and Damian and was messing with Aquaman a little bit. And then at the end of the issue, turns out he's making his way to Paradise Island. And so Batman meets up with Wonder Woman and says, hey, I need a favor. So this issue picks up with Batman having a sword to his neck by Alika, another Amazon. And she's just like, you're letting a dude on the island, talking to Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman's like, yeah, stop messing with me, okay? Seriously, I'm not going to tell you again. And she just keeps on going on and on, saying like, oh, we were turned to snakes over in your book forever. Now that we're finally Amazons again, the first thing you do is bring in a dude onto Paradise Island. And Wonder Woman's like, hey, his son was killed. The body is being brought here to Paradise Island. It's stolen by someone else. It's a whole thing. All right, we're just letting him find his son. And she's just like, okay, well, why would you think that he's able to make it here? And it's like, well, first off, the island apparently has a Lazarus pit. And they're like, we've never heard of that. And he's just like, I don't care if you've ever heard of it. Apparently, he thinks it's here. That's good enough. And secondly, as to why he might be able to make it here onto Paradise Island, it's because he's an immortal named Ra's al Ghul. He knows some stuff. He might know how to make it onto the island. And Alika's just calling him out, just being like, oh, well, why are you dressed like a bat? And he's like, to strike fear into people. She's like, not working for me. And then she just punches him in the stomach and knocks the wind out of him. And Wonder Woman then decides to get involved, punches Alika in the face, just being like, yo, seriously, we are not doing this, all right? You will listen to me, or else I swear to God I will kick you off this island. And so at that point, Batman takes off his cowl. He's just like, enough. Look, she feels the need to beat up and or kill a mortal man just to, like, get this weird game out of the way. So be it. Let's go. Let's do this. And Alika's like looking down, just like, all right, respect. You have until dawn. After that, we're throwing you into the ocean. Wonder Woman's like, you do that, I throw you in the ocean. Batman's like, whatever. Fine. Plenty of time. So Real quick, Wonder Woman needs to go over and pay respects to her mother, who is a statue at this point on Paradise Island. And Batman's like, what's that about? And she's like, oh, that's my mom. She was turned into a statue because Hera found out that I was the love child of her and Zeus. And Batman's like actual God Zeus? And Woman's like, yeah. Is that a problem? And he's like, nah. It's just weird. So we go to Ra's al Ghul. He has managed to find a map that leads to this dark cave, and he's just like, at last, one of the only two Lazarus pits that breaches between different planes, our world and the world of the Amazons. So let's go. So Wonder Woman and Batman make their way to the Oracle, and the Oracle's like, oh, if you want some information, I'm going to need an offering. And Batman just pulls out a batarang, being like, here, throw it hard. She throws it in some fruit, and she's like, nice, I like it. So they ask where the Lazarus pit is, and he's just like, yeah, no, totally. It's in a place called the Cavern of Nikta. Nikta being the god of darkness or night. And she basically goes on this whole long spiel about like, oh, you know, the darkness, it will devour you whole, da-da-da, you should be afraid of it. And Batman's like, I ain't scared to go out of the dark. And he's just like, oh, well, you should be. So we then go to Ra's, who is at the Lazarus pit, but makes the scientist there is making remarks being like, hey, this Lazarus pit, like most pits glow green, this thing is black, you sure this is good? And Ra's just cuts his head off being like, it better be good. So they hit it with this weird crystal thing in order to activate it. And then we go to the outside of the cave where some man-bats are keeping guard. Batman and Wonder Woman just take them out and immediately make their way inside the cave. And as Ra's is doing his whole big theatrical thing, Batman's like, Ra's, you stop this now. And he's just like, serious? Jesus, Bat. Look, I expected you to show up at the whole Aquaman thing, but here, I genuinely wasn't expecting that. Good job. You were a thorn in my side. So at that point, Wonder Woman's like, hey, how did you even make it on this island? And Ra's goes into this long spiel about how there was a ship many centuries ago that the Amazons came on, made love to all the men, and then slaughtered them all. Only a lone priest who lived by a rule of chastity faked his own death and managed to survive. But as he tried to convince people that there was an island full of warrior women who are beautiful and dangerous, everyone just laughed at him and said, you stupid man, except for Ra's, who took him, learned about the route that the the ship was taking when they encountered the Amazons, and then kind of just extrapolated from there. So at that point, Ra's then reveals this is a special Lazarus pit. Because of its special location, if I drop in Talia and Damian, it's going to wipe their minds clean. They're going to be blank slates. And then I can teach them all the stuff that I wanted to teach them. They'll actually obey me instead of being stupid, rebellious kids. And Batman's like, no, you can't do that. That's my son. And Ra's is like, yeah, it's my grandson. What about it? Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this now. And Batman calls him out saying, no, that's a really bad idea. You don't know what this pit is. And he's like, I know more about the Lazarus pits than you do. Okay, Batman, okay, bye. So all of a sudden the pit explodes out. A giant godlike creature comes out. It's Nikta. And he screams out like, Zeus, I hunger. And immediately starts flailing, like attacking all the guys from Raz's group there. Batman tries to get the sarcophagus that has Damian in it. A couple man-bats steal it away from him. Wonder Woman stops a cave-in from landing right onto Batman. And Batman notices, like, okay, all of the guns and stuff they're shooting at this giant creature are phasing right through. The only stuff that's actually being absorbed into it is organic matter, aka all the people it's eating as it screams, Zeus, I hunger. So they try to do their best to fight against Nikta, but Ra's takes the opportunity to take the sarcophagi again and just fly out the roof, being like, all right, we'll find another one, no biggie. And so they just leave. Wonder Woman wraps Nikta up in the lasso of truth as Batman tries to tranquilize Ra's. Ra's just bats it away. He's just like, that was stupid. You should have known that wasn't going to work. Bye, Batman. So Wonder Woman talks to Nikta and it's just like, hey, I got the lasso of truth on you. What do you want? Well, you say you hunger. What do you actually want? He's like, I want to see the sunrise. He's like, we could do that. Yeah, let's go take him to the sunrise. So they walk him out of the cave. They bring him down to the nearby beach. And he's just like, all right, I'm happy with this. But because he's a creature of actual darkness, once the light hits him, he just disappears. And they make the point here saying that, like, Damian, was a creature of darkness when he was part of the League of Assassins, but he made the choice, much like Nikta, to see the light. And that's why he cannot allow Roz to bring back Damian in this weird, messed up form. So, yeah, he's basically saying like, all right, thanks Wonder Woman, but he's left the island now, so point me how to get off the island so I can chase down my father-in-law, or my baby mama's dad, I guess would be a more accurate thing. Next time, Frankenstein. I like this one. I'm not sure if I like it more or less than Aquaman. Honestly, it feels a bit equal. This one I like just as much because it's tying in so heavily as to what's going on in Wonder Woman right now. It feels like a good bit of universe world building there. So I'll give props for that. And then it actually had a decent moral at the end of like, you know, a creature who, born in darkness, lived in darkness, chooses to see the light. I like that metaphor there for Damian. So overall, I think I'm going to give this one 7.5. It's solid. I think the fight scene in the middle is just a little bit too haphazard for me. I would have liked it to be either a bit cleaner or a bit shorter. So either way, yeah, it's a good issue, just mainly for the beginning and end bits. Batwoman number 30, written by Marc Andreyko, art by Jeremy Haun. So last issue, one of the paintings that's being stolen by Wolfspider is in Arkham. He gets it, and as Batwoman's trying to stop him, he unleashes the D tier of Arkham Asylum. So we've got a whole bunch of Arkham guards fighting alongside Batwoman. They are almost immediately taken out by whoever these people are. One of them gets named as the Green Fairy. One of them gets named as Scatter, which is the one who's made of cockroaches. Just know there's a bunch of them. So the fight's going on, and Batwoman just starts kicking people in the face as best it can. Wolfspider's like, all right, that's happening as a distraction. I'm going to get out of here. And we see Nocturna is right behind Wolfspider. And Wolfspider's like, okay, I got a job to do. If you want to follow me, I'm not going to stop you. I literally couldn't care less. But, like, I'm going to get going now. So Nocturna looks around and sees all the other inmates getting hit and just be like, all right, fair enough. So we see a jellyfish man, yeah, being attacked. Wonder Woman just throws some like concussive grenades inside of it and it explodes everywhere. Green Fairy comes and tries to like drug Batwoman. She's like, nah, I've had enough of that. And so she takes part of the jellyfish man and throws it on Green Fairy's face, to which it stings her. And she's like, yeah. Even a dead jellyfish can sting. Then Scatter shows up. Wonder Woman just throws like two little tiny explosive things into Scatter, and it somehow explodes out the bugs, but also freezes them solid. I don't know. Regardless, she turns to a guard and being like, hey, do you have the rest of them? Can I go now? And the guard's like, yeah, we should be good. They're D tier. And he's like, great, bye. So she goes off and she tracks down Wolfspider again. Wolfspider's on the roof, is about to jump off, and Batwoman's like, you owe me a rematch. And he's like, no. And then just gets a web glider and flies off of the rooftop. Batwoman manages to land a tracker on him and is just like, all right, well, at least that's something. So we go to the GCPD, where Maggie Sawyer is being told by a underling, hey, Arkham Asylum, something's going down. Reports of Batwoman being there, helping out. And Maggie's like, oh, God, all right, this is going to suck, but let's go. And as she makes her way out of the building, she is stopped by a man who's like, hey, are you Maggie Sawyer? And she's like, yes, I am. And he's like, you've just been served. And turns out these are court documents from her ex, the father of her child, saying, I want sole custody of the kid. So, yeah, that's something. So we see Batwoman following the tracking device, and it leads straight to her father's house. And she's like, hold up, what is going on here? And we see Wolfspider inside. He's looking for the paintings, and he ends up finding it. And he's like, all right, cool, great. That worked out better than should have been. And then Batwoman shows up being like, hey, what are you doing here? And he's just like, whoa, how did you manage to track me down? So she manages to get I don't even know what to call it. It's like, it's a rope that like ties him up, but it's got a claw on the end that like puts it over his mouth, like an actual hand. I don't know. And so she looks at the painting Wolfspider was about to Steel. And she's like, wait a minute, I remember this one. She flashbacks to when her mom was decorating the house. Her and her sister were allowed to vote on which painting to hold up. This one or one with a bunch of horses. And the horses won, so this went up into the attic. And she's like, oh, geez, that was so long ago. But, of course, as she's reminiscing, Wolfspider gets out of it. She's about to throw a kick onto Batwoman. And Batwoman dodges it. He's just like, no, I'm done with this, man. We're finishing this. And then Batwoman gets shot twice in the back. And she tumbles down a bunch of stairs. And Wolfspider's like, whoa, what's going on here? Turns out the old guy who hired him is like, I was getting restless and I just didn't think you could handle it. So yeah, I'm here. And he picks up the painting. Him and Wolfspider leave. And yeah, that's it. So they look up the old guy because Batwoman recognized him. His name is Old Man Grantham? I'm not sure. He's just like, oh, geez, he's like ancient. I wonder what he's doing here. So simultaneously, we see Batwoman and Bet trying to figure out what the pattern is, what they were looking for with these paintings, and then also what Grantham is like organizing the paintings, trying to find the pattern as well. And both of them are striking out until Wolfspider and Batwoman both simultaneously are like, wait a minute, if you arrange it in this way and then overlay a map of Gotham, they all point to this singular location, a statue in the middle, and that's where the treasure is. So next time the treasure hunt's done and we got to go to the statue. It's okay. I mean, here's the thing. It feels the exact same that it has the last two issues. You know, it's not like it's building any more stakes. It's just kind of doing the same thing it has been. If anything, the more interesting point to me is what's going on with Maggie, which the fact that it was only like 2 pages to say, oh, she's might have to give up custody of her kid, and that's going to put tension between her and Kate. Yeah, that's something. That's raising the stakes. But when it comes to the Wolfspider stuff, it's been the exact same stakes it has been for 3 issues now, which is to say he gets a painting and then Batwoman gets beat up a little bit, but like never enough that it's actually putting her off her game for any extended period of time, you know? Like she just shows up next issue, she's fine. So yeah, I don't know. It's not building in tension, but I do want to see how it ends. I want to see whatever this treasure here at the end is going to be, because I don't think it's going to be money. I'm betting it's the power of friendship. So we'll see how that goes. Overall, I'll give this one like a 6.5. I know I just said it's like the same as the last ones, but there is a decrease to it when you do the same thing too many times, you know? So hopefully we can just either get an explosive ending or do something different with the next issue. Birds of Prey number 30, written by Christy, Marx, art by Scott McDaniel and Robson Rocha. So last issue, Ra's al Ghul has begun his assault on Mother Eve, and only the Birds of Prey and Mother Eve's entire army are there to stop all the ninjas. So battle starts off, we're following Batgirl. She's looking around the battlefield saying like, all right, Condor's where he needs to be. Strix is doing recon, whatever. Everything's working out pretty well. So we might just be able to hold this off, but it's going to take like 2 or 3 hours. So here's hoping for the best there. And we see them just all fighting against ninjas. Batgirl calls into the #1 head of command for Mother Eve named Wallace and just like, hey, do we have eyes on Ra's al Ghul? Do we have any idea where he is? And he's like, nope, no idea. He's not on the ship yet. That's all we can say. And Condor's like, I can fly around, try to find him. And he's like, no, we need you where you are. He's going to have to come on here soon, so we'll just wait for him. And then we cut into Black Canary, who recounts her whole little critical mission thing where she is the last line of defense outside of Mother Eve's regeneration room, and how she was taunted by Ra's al Ghul, basically saying, I will give you the cure for your husband's coma-ness and return for you letting me get in and taking Mother Eve. And Dinah's considering it, just like, oh gosh, I will do anything for the man I love. Meanwhile, Condor is showing a few ninjas about to break into the infirmary because he also made a deal with Ra's al Ghul that if Kurt is killed, then he'll just stand by and let all this happen so that way he can swoop in and once Canary is totally over her husband's death, he can come in and be the new person. And he's saying all this as he watches the ninjas break in. He's like, gee, all right, who am I kidding? I was never going to follow through with that. So he busts in, he stops the ninjas just before they kill Kurt. And he gets all like the doctors and stuff out. He's just like, all right, is everyone good? Everyone great? And as he's leaving the room with Kurt in it, Kurt chimes up like, thank you. And immediately Condor's like, whoa, hold on, bro. You ain't brain dead? I thought you were a vegetable. I'm really happy I didn't make that decision then. So all of a sudden there's a bunch of smoke bombs all over the main deck of this ship. And Batgirl's like, all right, no visibility. This is when Roz is going to be making his move. And yes, Roz is talking to a ninja named Night Lord, saying like, hey, I'm heading in. This is going to be my only opportunity. Get in there and cause some havoc. And Night Lord's like, yes, my lord. So Condor points out that his telekinetic ability, it doesn't work on smoke. He can't just push it all out of the way. And Batgirl's like, that's why I had a plan. And she calls in all of the helicopters and such nearby and brings them in to clear away all the smoke. And Condor's like, oh yeah, I was wondering why those ships were just hanging out elsewhere and not over the helping us out instead. So they kick the smoke grenades off. Everyone starts fighting against the ninjas and whatnot. But of course, Batgirl makes the assumption Ra's al Ghul's already inside. It's down to Black Canary. She's the one who has to stop this. And lo and behold, Black Canary sees Ra's coming and he's like, hey, here's the vial. Go ahead. Go to your husband. Use it on him to wake him up. I'm going to just go into that room you're guarding and kill that old woman. And Canary goes to take it, and she's like, pshaw, as if, and kicks it out of his hand, shattering the glass on the wall. And Roz is like, why do you care about a stupid old woman who is immortal, so she's barely even going to remember your pathetic short little life? And Canary makes this whole thing about like, oh, well, I was thinking about it, but then I heard my husband's voice in my head saying that that's not who you are. I would never go down to that. So turns out Roz already has like earplugs or whatever in, so the canary cry is not going to affect him. But it doesn't matter because Night Lord just sneaks up behind Canary with some piano wire and starts choking her out. And Canary's like, wait a minute. And this is the part that threw me for a loop. Wait a minute. Back during the 0 Year tie-in issue, the ninjas that I encountered that like killed my sensei, you were one of them. And the ninja's like, ah, yes, I am. And you've grown so much. And Canary's like, whatever, I don't need to fight you one-on-one. I got a team now. And she throws Night Lord outside, to which he then starts battling against Strix. And she runs back in to stop Roz. Meanwhile, we see the battle with Strix, where Night Lord slashes open her stomach, and he's like, haha, you are defeated. But Strix, being an undead Talon, just stands back up again. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? And then Strix proceeds to slash open his throat and throw him overboard. So Roz is about to get into the room where Mother Eve is, and Black Canary says, not in this century. And then she starts screaming. And it turns out that this room was specially made to be a resonance chamber that is able to overpower Roz's earplugs. And yeah, he's taken down. He's out to the fight. So at this point, the door opens up. Mother Eve comes out saying like, all right, I'm done. Thank you, Black Canary. You did well. And now she looks like she's 10 years old. And Roz is like, ah, blast it. All right, well, you win this round, but I'll see you in another few decades when I try to do it again. And he just walks out. And Black Canary's like, should we be like chasing him? He's like a supervillain. And Mother Eve's like, nah, don't worry about it. He's just going to get his guys and leaves. They're not going to waste time if there's nothing to do around here anymore. So yeah, they just bail. Mother Eve tells Black Canary, hey, that vial on the wall, I know that you were tempted by it. I trusted you implicitly, but like, go check that. See if you can smell it. And she takes a whiff of it and is like, wait a minute, hold on. That's cyanide. He was going to give me cyanide. And it's like, yeah, Ra's al Ghul's a dick. That's why you shouldn't trust him. But I trusted you implicitly to make the right decision. So, yeah, your faith is rewarded. So everyone comes out to the deck and they're just like, oh, hey, Mother Eve, you're young now. And it's like, yeah, it's just how my regeneration stuff works. Don't worry about it. And everyone's like, all right, well, that's the arc. What do we do now? And they say, oh, well, you know, we'll face whatever comes tomorrow. And then I think we get a shot of the ninja guy. I've already blanked on his name. Shadow Lord? Is that right? I don't know. Regardless, ninja guy. He's looking all angsty in an alleyway, and I think that's who that is. I don't know. Either way, here's the thing. It's a very, like, anticlimactic ending. It's very much a thing of, like, yes, all right, we knew that Canary and Condor weren't going to betray each other for the sake of whatever it is they wanted. That part's obvious. I don't fault it for going with the obvious route. I kind of wish there would have been more to beating Roz, I guess, because it just seems like, oh, your screams won't affect me, Black Canary. Oh, wait, no, they totally affect me. It just seemed a bit, like, super quick. However, I don't hate it either. Like, the way it plays out, the fact that it is so anticlimactic, and it's just Roz gets up and walks away because he's like, well, this was a bust, bye. I don't know, I kind of like that. I think it works for the story's benefit. I guess my real critique here is there's just a little bit weird of a pacing issue where it doesn't feel like the parts that should be getting the attention are getting the attention. Like, we spent 4 full pages at the beginning of this book of Batgirl just recapping everything from the last issue of like, oh, this fight's going on and here's where all the people are. It's like, yeah, we know. Most people were there. There's barely any people who are going to pick up with issue 30 when issues 28 and 29 were lead-ins to it, you know? So yeah, it's just some weird pacing, but overall it's not a bad issue. I'd say it's probably like it's like a 6.5. It's not awful, it's not great, it's just there, and we'll see what comes up in the next arc. Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 30, written by Will Pfeifer, art by R.B. Silva and Rafa Sandoval. So, last issue, Arsenal was on Starfire's ship, it got hijacked and brought into deep space, and now he's doing a Die Hard. Meanwhile, Red Hood and Starfire are like, hey, let's get a ship and go up into space to try to rescue Arsenal. So, it's intercut over the course of the issue, but I'm just going to give you the entirety of Arsenal stuff first because it's super quick to describe, and I'll get back to where it hits at the very end. So Arsenal's on the ship. Like I said, he's trying to do a Die Hard. The aliens that took the ship are able to, like, regenerate from any sort of attack. So Arsenal has loaded up all of his arrows with wires on the end, and we see him enacting his plan where he busts open the vent, shoots everyone full of a bunch of arrows, and then he's going to electrify it, and he thinks that's going to take him out. And theoretically it will, however, he doesn't account for the fact that the battery that he has hooked all these arrows up to needs to charge before it's able to fully unload its electrical output. So he stabs all these guys full of arrows, and then the charging needs to happen, so he gets the crap kicked out of him for a little bit. But then as they're like, all right, whatever, throw this guy off the ship. We got a buyer who's ready to do our genocidal stuff. He presses the button, and all of them go down, and Arsenal just goes, booyah. So we'll get back to him at the end. Meanwhile, we cut to Red Hood and Starfire. So last issue, we got the tease that they were going to Shade, which is where Frankenstein is, and they were going to steal a ship from them. Turns out, yes but no, because first we go to a Black Hawk's depot. For people who were reading at the very beginning of the New 52, they make reference to saying this was the Black Hawk's facility that was destroyed in issue number 8 of Black Hawk's. And they're looking for a ship. They just need a little ship in order to fly around and, like, teleport to, like, certain places. They're making their way through this place. It looks totally abandoned, but then suddenly this weird little dude comes out and he speaks with a very computerish voice, and he's like, oh, may I help you? My name's Carl. And everyone's like, hey, Carl, we need a ship. And they're like, oh, this is government property. I can't let you take that. And he's like, all right, never mind, Carl. I'm just going to look around myself then. And then Carl transforms into this, like, crazy cyborg with a whole bunch of weapons coming out of his chest. He starts blowing away at Red Hood, and Starfire's like, all right, enough of that. She uses her, like, super beams to just incinerate Carl, and it's like, all right, is that the ship we need? And Red Hood's like, yeah, that looks good to me. And they start taking off. We do see Carl hops onto the ship, and it's, like, clinging to the wing after them. So Starfire asks for clarification of, like, why haven't we taken off into space? And Red Hood, through more words than I'm comfortable trying to even parse here, basically says this ship isn't going to, like, with how deep into space we need to go, it would be too slow to get there. However, Shade has ships that can basically just teleport right to where we need to be. But to get into Shade, we need to take this ship, because Shade is, like, using dwarf technology to, like, make itself super small, and this is the only way that we could theoretically even get into it. So they take a portal into Metropolis, and they look around, and they're like, okay, we're looking for, like, a baseball just floating in the air somewhere. That's the size of this thing. And Red Hood manages to spot it, and they take this whole ship, and they're just like, all right, well, we got to crash right into it. It's the only way in. And so they crash into this baseball. Inside of Shade, Frankenstein's doing some hologram training when Father Time comes up. I'm just going to assume you know all these characters. If not, watch Frankenstein Agents of Shade. The reviews for that are elsewhere. Regardless, Frankenstein is met by Father Time and just like, hey, we're being breached. I need you to protect Shade. And Frankenstein's like, I'm not a part of Shade anymore. Why would I do that? But then all of a sudden, Red Hood's ship just comes in. And because it's a lab, it's like a government building pretty much, it doesn't have parking for unexpected jets, so it just crashes in and explodes. And Red Hood and Starfire are like, well, I guess any landing you can walk away from. So they're immediately beset on all sides by, like, security, which is just a bunch of robots, and Starfire starts taking out them. Meanwhile, Frankenstein comes up, starts sword fighting with Red Hood. Red Hood's like, haha, what's the matter? Never fought someone trained in a League of Assassins? And then Frankenstein just, like, punches him through a wall. So at that point, Frankenstein's like, you're not much of a threat. I don't know why I'm needed here. And then Starfire comes in, sets Frankenstein on fire. He's not fazed. He's like, that's not the first time I dealt with fire. And she's like, all right, let's turn up the heat. And she goes full, like, supernova atomic on him. And Starfire's like, hey, Jason, that's twice now I've saved your ass. You owe me one. And he's like, yeah, no, totally, whatever you want. So they manage to find the different ship they're looking for, the one that can teleport. Starfire's like, I'll fly this thing. You just, like, tell me what the plan is. And as Jason's about to start describing it, the startup sequence has begun. Frankenstein yanks him out of the ship and just being like, I'ma kill you. Like, you that hurt, and I'm going to hurt you back. And as he's about to swing at Red Hood, Carl comes out, grabs hold of Frankenstein, and just basically saying, like, hey, get off of him. I have no idea why Carl's on the side of Red Hood here. It makes absolutely no sense. But regardless, Red Hood get back in the ship. They start up the engines. And Frankenstein's just like, oh, this isn't the end. I will get you if it's the last thing I do. So all that happens. And then as they are in deep space, at least it seems like space, because they're saying that they still need to pick someone up on Earth in order to nail down the coordinates. I don't get it. Regardless, they're able to call up Roy, and it's like, hey, you cool? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool. I'll just be chilling here. I took out the aliens that hijacked the ship. And he's like, great, awesome. We'll be there in, like, a few minutes. So at that point, there's an explosion on Starfire's ship. Roy's taken out, and then all of a sudden, a giant size of billion shoe comes out and just plants itself on Roy's chest, and it starts monologuing, saying like, oh, I've been watching you all along. It's crazy how efficiently you took out those guys. They were supposed to be the best of the best, but hey, you saved me having to pay them because they're actually just subcontractors for me. So get ready for me, the main man. It's Lobo, old Lobo, 90s Lobo, not new Lobo. So yeah, Lobo's here. Here's a little sad fact. I was looking ahead, and Will Pfeifer here, he is on last issue, this issue, and the next issue. And then we go back to Scott Lobdell. And while I don't think this arc is anything super impressive, the fact that there's just this looming threat of more Scott Lobdell coming up in just 2 months' time, I want this to last forever. And maybe that's clouding my judgment, but like, I look at this and I'm like, yes, please, more. Please don't stop. In reality, if I'm trying to be objective here, it's a fine issue. I don't really have any problems with it. I do think that it's a little bit convoluted, the idea of like, we need a ship to get to the ship to go into space, but we also need someone to nail down the coordinates. Go over this again. Do a second draft. I think that you got a little bit complicated here. Maybe Will Pfeifer originally was told he had more issues to work with before they like cut him back because Scott Lobdell took whatever blackmail he has on Dan DiDio and just waved it around. But I don't know. It's it seems really rushed to me and really complicated for no reason. So whatever this is, it seems like it's kind of just a love letter to early New 52, which is weird considering we're less than 3 years into it, but hey, whatever. I'm going to give this one, I'd say it's a flat 6. There's not a lot going on to this one. It's not awful, it's not abysmal, but it's not great by any measure. Harley Quinn number 5, written by Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Chad Hardin. So last issue, Harley was met by an old geriatric American secret agent named Cy Borgman, and he enlisted her to fight against some old, also geriatric Russians that were apparently old enemies of America. So we open up at a random chili dog place where Harley's just picking up a bunch of food, and she's talking to Borgman, and he's like, look, all right, we're going to go on this mission tomorrow. We're going to start doing this stuff. I brought this file. It's got all of the enemies listed inside of it. I need you to take this home and study it like crazy. And he pulls it out of his souped up scooter that he's got, and we do a little bit where this guy comes up saying like, hey, what else you got in that scooter, old man? And Borgman's like, your mama. I had to read it, so I want to make sure you understand it's there too. So they leave, and he's like, yep, so look over all that tonight, and I'll pick you up tomorrow. And Borgman puts out that, like, if you help me with this, I can help you with the fact that someone has a bounty on your head. I've still got some high up contacts I can call to get that taken care of. So we see Harley walking down the street. She ends up at a burlesque show where Tony is acting as the bouncer, and she's basically like, yeah, go on in. The landlady gets to watch free. So she goes in, gets like popcorn and a whole bunch of food and stuff. And as they're doing this burlesque show, the whole bit of it is that it looks like it is this like native god thing. Like the woman who's doing the dancing is a goddess, and then she starts getting in like a knife fight with one of the people who summoned her, and it's all done through like very native looking stuff. But Harley gets so into it that she's like spraying her drink everywhere, and she's chewing really loud, and finally as the knife fight starts taking off, she leaps over the crowd, stepping on people to get to the stage, tackles one of the guys who's performing, and immediately everyone calls out like, Harley, what are you doing? It's a show. We're on stage. And she's like, I don't know. This knife fight seemed really convincing. And everybody starts like yelling at Harley in the audience. One of the guys brings around actual Rotten Tomatoes, which it says 78%, which is pretty good Rotten Tomato score. And then they start pelting it at Harley. So immediately they go backstage, and Harley's like, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't know what came over me. And everyone's like, it's no big deal, Harley. And we have Queenie and Tony, which Tony obviously has a crush on Queenie. Queenie basically says, like, hey, why don't we go out for dinner and we can make Tony pay? And Tony's like, yeah, great, awesome. So I don't know what happens there, but then we cut to Harley is back at home. She was looking over the files and she's fallen asleep. And we get like 3 pages of a nightmare sequence of a bunch of Russian spy like themed things. Like we see Harley getting shot on a plane, she falls down to the ocean, and chili dogs, and then all of a sudden she wakes up and she's like, oh god, I need a bathroom stat. So the next morning, Harley's at her day job. She's talking to one of the old people there who's super happy that her family is now coming to visit her because Harley threatened them last issue. And Harley's like, yep, well, that's great, but I gotta run. I gotta somewhere to be. And she strips off and puts on her Harley Quinn outfit, meets up with Borgman, and they're up on top of the roof of the nursing home. And apparently right across the street is a hospital where one of the guys is comatose. He's just practically a vegetable. But Borgman's like, nah, he's a tricky one. He may very well be faking it. We got to take him by surprise so he can't get at us. So they use a grappling hook and take the scooter across the grapple all the way, crashing into the window. And as they get in there, the dude's still comatose. And it's just like, no, he's tricky, but like, let's go ahead and yank out these cables and stuff, keeping him alive. See how long that takes him to die. And so he pulls out all the cables. He's still going. They cut his oxygen tube. He's still going. Boardman charges up like an electric-powered fist. He's still going. And finally, Harley's just like, hold on, let me see that air tube. And she gets the air tube and she blows as hard as she can into it. And all of a sudden, the dude just explodes. Like blood everywhere. And Harley's like, Jesus, all right. I guess I exploded his arteries. So he's flatlining. They make their way out of the room. He's dead. So they're like, all right, well, that was faster than I thought it would be. Let's go ahead and knock 2 out tonight. So they're going after another one called Ivana Brekamov. Yes, it's a pun. They're all puns. I forget who the first one was, but like they all are. So they're about to hop in a taxi. We see Boardman is just haggling with the taxi driver on how much he's supposed to pay him. And then eventually they get in and drive to this very gated-looking mansion. And they walk up to the gate. Security guards are like, what are you doing here? And it's like, we're from the deli. We brought cheeseburgers. And it's like, the deli doesn't sell cheeseburgers. So they get into a fight. They're immediately caught by security. And we see the woman that they're after, Ivana, is an explosions expert. And so she's set up like missiles and stuff. She's ready to go. Harley manages to get in and get her into a headlock. She's like, oh, I got her. And Ivana says, you'll never take me alive, Cyborg. She pulls out a little trigger switch, presses it, and her whole house explodes. And a little caption box at the end says like, oh my, how will Harley and Cyborg get out of this one? I mean, they obviously will, because the book's going to continue, but check out next issue regardless. So, that's the book. Okay. I feel so bad talking about this book, and I feel like I'm going to be saying this for like 30 issues in a row, is that it's just not my humor. You know, sometimes a joke will land, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that's pretty funny. I like the pun names here. I think that they can be somewhat clever, but like, the whole thing with the stage routine, maybe we're setting up for something else. Maybe there's something else going on. But, like, I don't get it. I don't understand what we're doing here. You know, it doesn't contribute to the plot. It's not its own funny thing. It's just kind of like, here's Harley being an idiot. Laugh. You know, so it's not a poorly made issue. I recognize that objectively. It's just not for me, you know? But unfortunately, I don't get to pick and choose on this show. So overall, I'd say this one's probably like, for me, 6, maybe even a 5.5. I'm going to say 6, just give it the benefit of the doubt. But like, as this continues on, unless they like really do something that's interesting to me, I'm losing interest fast. We're only 5 issues in and I'm just already out. Supergirl number 30, written by Tony Bedard, art by Emanuela Lupacchino, Yildiray Cinar, and Diogenes Neves. So, it's kind of hard to remember what happened in this book and what happened in Red Lanterns, so I'm just going to go with whatever happened last in the trade, which is to say, Bleez showed up and said Atrocitus is on his way, and yeah, that's a problem. So, we open up with, actually I do remember the last issue of Supergirl had aliens that I didn't recognize saying, oh, let's rain hellfire or whatever. So we see those same aliens attacking a planet called Grax, and they're all coming in. We see the armies of Grax fighting against them, but it's no use. We see a young child alien crying over the corpse of his mother, saying like, Mommy, what's happening? And then one of the big bad aliens swoops in saying like, oh, your planet is so weak. We're doing you a service. By culling your planet, you will become strong again. And as they are about to kill this child, Supergirl comes in and swats away the aliens and says, you know, her whole shtick of like, oh, I'm Supergirl, the Red Lanterns, blah, blah, blah. And no more destroying planets. And she punches this alien halfway across the planet. So the little alien's just like, oh, what do I do? And she's like, you need to find a place to hide. And the alien's like, oh, but my mom. And then Scalix come and be like, your mom's dead, kid. Get out of here. So At that point, Supergirl chews out Scalix for like, maybe say it a little bit nicer. And he's like, that's not part of the deal. We're here to defend the planet. So all of the aliens come in, and they get a name later on, but they all come in and saying, Red Lanterns, this isn't your fight. Don't interfere with us. And it's just like, pshaw, we're interfering. So they start fighting against these aliens. They're called Diasporans. And Supergirl's just like, Jesus, man, there's a lot of them. And Scalix is like, what, you don't think you can handle them? She's like, oh, I'll show you handle them. She grabs one of them by the tail and just starts swinging him around, beating off everybody else. And Scalix is like, all right, that's pretty cool, right? And Zelius is just like, okay, yes, but like she's just using her normal powers. This has nothing to do with being a Red Lantern. So she used her heat vision to like blow up all their ships. And as they're all falling out of the sky, the people of Grax are like, oh, they're retreating. You saved us. Thank you, Red Lanterns. And Kara's feeling good. She's like, oh, you know, it's unconventional, but I finally found a place where I belong. It feels good for me. So then we go down to the block. And for those of you who don't remember what the block is, it's where Dr. Shea Veritas is. And there's a whole subplot going on where some alien creature named the Blaze escaped, and they're doing sweeps for it, and they're trying to figure out, hey, where is it? It manages to access a computer terminal. It can't understand it, so it transforms it into something it can understand, which is like a magic orb. And it's like, find the angry girl. And it shows Supergirl and Silver Banshee in New York. And it's like, New York, okay. So as they're still doing sweeps for it, all of a sudden they feel like a weird little shift in reality, and they realize, oops, Blaze has teleported out of the block and is now somewhere else, and we see it's arrived in Queens. So meanwhile on Yzmalt, Scalix and Zilius are saying like, okay, Gardner, look, we cannot let Supergirl lead the team because she is like half our force right now. She is incredible out there. And Gardner's like, I still don't like it, but you know, we'll wait until the whole Atrocitus thing is taken care of, because, yeah, we might need her for that. So he tells them to keep an eye on Blaze while he goes out and talks to Supergirl about, like, everything. And Supergirl is 100% on Gardner, saying, we need to go after the Diasporans and just destroy them all. Straight up wipe them out, because they are destroying planets, and that's a no bueno for me. And Gardner's like, I get it, but we need to deal with the Atrocitus thing first. That is far more pressing on us. And she's like, you don't understand. And then we get just a full-on backstory of what she saw when she went into the Blood Ocean, which is to say, do you remember like 3 or 4 arcs ago, depending on how you count, with the World Killers? And they were saying, you know, oh, Supergirl, you're also a world killer, blah, blah, blah. They were made of Kryptonian origin and all that stuff. Well, turns out that she took that really, really to heart. And she really hates the idea of worlds being killed off. And so the fact that these Diasporans are self-confessed world killers, that's what they do, she really wants to take care of them. And Gardner's like, I hear you, I get it, we're still going to deal with the Atrocitus thing first. And Supergirl's like, all right, fair enough. So she then goes all in on saying like, oh yeah, no, like when I was down in the Blood Ocean, I went in like afraid of my power. I was holding back. That's the whole reason you guys were able to get me in there in the first place. But now I'm gonna unleash my fury on the universe. I'm gonna burn this sector clean of their filth. And guys like, okay, she's talking like really messed up now. This is gonna be a problem. So finally we cut over to the Diasporan horde ship, and the guy, one of the generals, is reporting back being like, hey, Commander, we got beat back by the Red Lanterns. They had a new girl, and she was crazy strong. If you want to execute me, I get it. And he's just like, nah, don't worry about it. We took scans of her when she was there. You went up against a Kryptonian, dude. Not just that, a Red Lantern Kryptonian. The fact you're still alive is actually incredible, if we're being honest here. But regardless, we are going to use this Kryptonian as basically an example as to why world killing is good. Because the Kryptonians lost their world and now they're stronger. So let's just use her to help save this wretched universe and give it strength. That's the issue. So the 3 to 4 pages in the middle where Supergirl, we just get a recap of what the world killers are and why Supergirl is so against these guys. Add on top of that the 3 to 4 pages where we get what's going on in the block with Blaze and the, like, how Shea Veritas is looking for it. It feels really badly paced. That's my main thing here, is that I don't feel like anything happened this issue. This issue was about setting stuff up and justification that, honestly, I think could have been done in like 3 panels. You just have Supergirl say, oh, I met some world killers before. They really, they pushed me to my limit. And then you have a little editor's box saying, see Supergirl 12 or whatever they read. Fine. That's fine. You can do that. But instead we get 4 full pages. And don't get me wrong, they look great. It's not like it's bad art or anything like that. But like, it's padding. It's just padding out the story here. So yeah, in terms of pacing, I'm not a fan. In terms of what the story's doing, I like the idea that Supergirl's, just becoming a Red Lantern. She's finding a place where she belongs here. It feels like it's really working that into her story, rather than this feeling like it's just going to be a temporary thing, like every reader knows it will be. But no, it all comes down to pacing for me. It just feels like this wasn't even an issue. It was just a couple of scenes stitched together by the vague plot of, Supergirl and versus the Diasporans, and then like everyone else is doing other things. So I'm gonna say this is it's like a 6 for me. It's not really all that good of an issue. It can probably just be skipped as a whole if you're just trying to focus on the Red Lantern side of things. But yeah, it's there. That's the most I could say for it. Green Lantern New Guardians number 30, written by Justin Jordan, art by Brad Walker and Diogenes Neves. So last issue we left off with these god killers arriving and killing the Tamaranian goddess Zal. They just stabbed her a bunch. And we open up this issue with Zal being like, you can't kill me, and he's like, want to bet? And so they stab her a bit more, and then all of a sudden she explodes into a huge fiery explosion. And immediately Kala's just like, no, my goddess, what have you done? And Kyle Rayner's like, yeah, no, seriously, that was messed up. So the god killers turn around, they're just like, yo, White Lantern, we've heard about you. If you think you got to fight against us, so be it, but we aren't going to back down. And just like, all right, fair enough. And so the Guardians of the Universe come in, Carol comes in, and they just start fighting each other. And they immediately recognize, like, okay, these guys don't care much about collateral damage on the planet, so we need to get them away from that. The Guardians, they're still trying to give them each individual personalities. God bless their hearts, but, like, I can't tell. So the one named Zala, who's a feminine-looking one, may be a little bit war crazy, like a little war hungry. I'm saying it to forget it as soon as I do. So at that point they say, all right, look, we might have some other problems because there are too many of them. We can't hold them all back. And they're stronger than they should be for just like normal aliens. They've got some special weapons that are doing something like special here. And then all of a sudden, the first of the free men, who they just call the First, and I will too, there's a light that blinds behind him, and Kala's like, oh my goddess, the fire still burns. And we see that Zal was not so easily killed, and she comes back and she's pissed. She's like, you dare! I am the fire of the universe, and I am forever. You think you can stab me and kill me like that? I am going to end you. And he first turns around and he's like, all right, hold up. We figured that wouldn't kill you. You're a little bit more special than the other guys we fought. So here's what we're coming to you with. And he tells Zal to reach out to all of her followers on all the planets that she's touched and see what's going on with them right now. And she does so, and she sees that all of her followers are currently being held at execution point by the God Killers. And he's saying, look, if you destroy yourself right now, we will let all of your followers go. So this is essentially the proof. If you care about your followers at all, if you care about their well-being, you will end yourself. That's the only way this flies. And Kyle tries to fly and stop him. Immediately, the First just takes a swipe at him with a sword, and that's enough to knock Kyle out. Like, his powers are just not working for him right now. He's like, what in the hell are these weapons, man? So they restate the ultimatum, and he's like, what's you going to be, Zal? And Zal's just like, oh, you think You think you can just say, no, that's not going to fly. How about this? Third option. And immediately she just goes straight supernova and just says, I'm going to kill all of you. And she pulls up all of the free men into this fire cyclone, including some of the Guardians and the Lanterns as well, but they're able to use their own shielding to, like, protect themselves. The Guardians get out of the cyclone and start trying to contain it, make sure it doesn't affect anybody else in the area. And that's the point where Kala gets back up, and she's just like, you not only killed my goddess, theoretically, but you also are threatening my brothers and sisters across the creation. How dare you? And so she starts attacking the First, and the First is like, still, even after we told you what you did to the other planets, you still are doing this. And the First just stabs Kala through the chest with this weapon, saying, all right, then, die for her. So Kyle comes in, blasts the First enough to get him away from her. Carol throws up some defenses so that Kyle can heal Kala, but the blue light isn't working. It's not healing Kala, and she ends up dying in Kyle's arms with her last words basically going to be like, it was worth it, right? Like, we did the right thing. So as she dies, Kyle goes full Red Lantern. He makes a huge red mech suit construct and starts beating the crap out of the First as best he can. But the other free men come up and they start attacking him as well. And Carol's like, all right, you're getting overrun. You're fighting sloppy. He pulls them aside, tells him to calm down, puts him inside of like a big bubble. And as Kyle calms down, he's like, sorry, Zal's also pissed off, and I was kind of just picking up her rage as well. It's a whole thing. And Carol's like, okay, that's fine. I think I have an idea. I have a plan as to what we can do. As long as the Guardians can keep Zal contained, we got to end this quick. So she drops the bubble, and she tells Kyle the plan, which is the First feels genuine love and care for his fellow God Killers. As such, the Star Sapphire power will be able to feel that love and be able to connect all of them together via that connection. So Kyle then needs to use that connection and teleport all of them using the Indigo Tribe powers to somewhere away where all of the other people will be safe. And Kyle's like, last time I tried to teleport a bunch of people, it nearly killed me. And Carol's like, I believe in you. You can do it. So go ahead, do it. So they use the connection power, and Kyle manages to do it. And there's a fantastic double splash page here, just showing all of the God Killers from all the different worlds being teleported away instantaneously. So all of their armor and weapons just fall to the ground because Kyle managed to separate them away from their armor and weapons. And Zal goes over to Kala's dead body and is just like, Kala, oh, you always believed in me the most. You were like my most ardent supporter, and I let you down. I let you die. And we see one of the Guardians go over, and it's just like, there, are you satisfied? You see what you did now? And Zal's like, I'm going to go. Tell me where you teleported them to, because I'm going to go kill every last one of them. And the Guardian's like, that's more of the problem, man. Don't do that. Look, you need to be what your children need you to be, you know? Like, don't go out and do this personal vendetta stuff, because it's not good for anybody. Be the light. Be better than that. And Zal looks down at Kala, says, I'm sorry, and then says, this cannot happen again. And she teleports away, implying that maybe she is going to go out for vengeance regardless. So Carol is cradling Kyle, making sure he's okay. And Kyle's like, did we do it? Are my brains still on my inside? And she's like, yes and yes. And he's like, great. All right, that's a win. So all the Guardians come up to Kyle and they're like, yo, bro, you shouldn't be able to do that, man. That's like more power than any of the Guardians have. You are transforming into something else. And Kyle's like, I mean, I don't know what. And they're like, yeah, well, maybe we need to look into that a bit more. And it says, tune in next time to Green Lantern Annual, or Green Lantern New Guardians Annual, to see what's going on with Kyle. But then we get a little epilogue page, which is back on the homeworld of the Blue Lanterns, which was destroyed by Relic, if you remember. That's apparently where all the God Killers were sent to. And so First is sitting there at a fire, just chipping away at some stones. And they come up, they're like, bro, we lost all of our weapons and stuff. How do we continue our mission? And he's just like, you forget. It wasn't about just the weapons. It was about the drive, the goal. We learned not only how to kill the gods, but also how to use their crafts. So yeah, we will be back. The God Killers will return in Avengers Endgame. So yeah, there's that going on. I I like it. I don't know why. I'm fascinated with the idea of deities and gods and stuff in a larger universe, especially in the DC universe where, things like the Greek gods, the Roman gods, Christian gods, all of them are proven to exist. I like this idea that across the larger DC universe, all the other gods are also there. Like all the alien gods. There's no reason they shouldn't be. And I like the idea that there's a group that doesn't like that goes against them. So all in all, I think this art did a pretty good job. It's also setting Kyle up that, he's going through some changes. He's at that age, and he's going to be able to do more as a White Lantern than previously thought. So all in all, I think this was an arc very well done. It didn't pull its punches. It actually killed off the one believer. So yeah, no, it's while I do think it may have been a bit padded out here in this last part, especially with the idea of like, oh, the Guardians have to contain Zol's fire. It's like, okay, but like, I feel like you're focusing on that just to fill a page up. That's not something that I would be inherently asking as to like, why hasn't Zol destroyed the whole planet when she's so pissed off? It's like, oh, because she's a goddess and she just knows how to control herself even when she's not. So yeah, overall, fine issue. Looking forward to seeing what comes next. I will definitely be checking out the annual. So yeah, the God Killers will return. Wonder Woman number 30, written by Brian Azzarello, art by Goran Sudzuka. So last issue, the Firstborn took over Olympus, Wonder Woman became the god of war, like officially, and then all the Amazons were turned back from snakes into Amazons. So this issue picks up with Hades and Poseidon talking to each other, and Hades is basically like, dude, I got a whole army of souls here. We could go take Olympus like right now. Should we go do that? And Poseidon's like, well, hold on now. It's better just not to get involved. Let's just let this thing do its own, and then we'll get involved if need be. And Hades is like, all right, fine, whatever, we'll wait. So back on Paradise Island, Hera is apparently unable to turn Hippolyta back to human. She's still stuck in her statuesque form, and everyone's like, you're a goddess now though, like you should be able to do that, right? And she's like, I don't know, something's stopping me. And we are introduced to the Amazon Alika, who I think we've met before, but regardless, she comes in and she's like, oh, well, maybe Hera is just being two-faced again and is like purposely not bringing Hippolyta back. And Hera's like, I'm sorry, are you talking back to a goddess here? And she's like, no, I respect you as a goddess, but I don't trust you. And Hera's like, that's fair. That's totally reasonable. But at that point, Hera says, oh, by the way, you were talking to Wonder Woman earlier and you called her princess. She's the queen now. If Hippolyta's gone, that makes her the queen. And Alika's immediately like, okay, now it makes sense. You're a goddess of war, and now you're the queen. This all seems like betrayal and doublespeak and whatnot. And she gets all up in Wonder Woman's face, and Hera is just like, I'm going to just turn her back into a snake again. She's kind of annoying me. Wonder Woman's like, no, don't do that, don't do that. I was like, look, we need to all gods please move to the other room. So they all go upstairs, and that includes Dio, Hermes, Artemis, and Hera as well. And basically they're Artemis is making the point to Hermes, like, you are a male god, you should leave the island. And he's like, what? I'm still a god. And he's like, yeah, but you're a male god. And they keep going back and forth for a while, and Wonder Woman's like, look, maybe I am technically queen now, but if that's the case, I need to be with my people by like respecting their wishes and the way of life that they have and whatnot. And that means guys need to go. And Dio, who's also there, is just like, yeah, all right, whatever, that makes sense to me. And Hermes is like, okay, so baby Zeke, is he forced to go too? And Zola's like, no, you're not taking my baby again. We are not going through that. And Hera's like, don't worry, I vouch for the baby. It'll totally be cool. Baby will be safe. So at that point, we cut out to the Amazons, who were all just sitting outside around a bonfire talking to each other. And they're basically arguing about whether or not they should respect Wonder Woman as the new queen. And we see this hooded figure come up and say like, oh yeah, Hera was very two-faced. Now we've got not only another god, but she's claiming to be our queen. Doesn't that seem super convenient, whatnot? And Alika's just like, hey, that sounds pretty dang smart, hooded figure. And another one chimes up saying like, whoa, 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 you don't speak for all of us. Like, we're a bit more split than that. And he's just like, yeah, no, I'm just saying, bye. So the hooded figure walks away and we see, you know, very devious grin underneath, but we can't see who it is quite yet. Meanwhile, on Mount Olympus, which is now made up of blood and guts, and it literally is raining blood everywhere, Cassandra has her mouth bound, gagged, whatever you want to call it, by Firstborn. And he's like, hey, I got a piece of some meat for you. Go ahead, eat. He tosses it down to her, and she just starts gobbling it down. And he's just like, all right, here's the deal, Cassandra. I got some stuff I want to do because I'm not fit to just rule. I want to conquer. So you're going to help me go out and conquer more stuff. Also, your Minotaur man over there, the same thing for him. And she's just like, you starved me. Well, of course I was like, just give me more food, fine, whatever. And we see that the meat that she was eating was from Cheever, which I'm going to be honest, I don't remember who Cheever is. I think it's like a second in command to Cassandra. Either way, it's human meat. And so she starts like about to like throw up. And he's just like, yeah, all right, whatever. Either way, come on, we got business. So back on Paradise Island, Zola's talking with Wonder Woman, just walking down the beach. And the basis of the conversation is Zola doesn't feel like she fits in here. And Wonder Woman's like, yeah, you know, I felt the same way before, but things are different now. And she really makes the point saying, I need you and Zeke to be safe. That's my number one goal here. If we're going to hope to beat the Firstborn period, it's not going to be worth anything if you guys aren't safe. And Zola's like, I mean, I don't really feel safe unless it's just me and Zeke. No offense. Woman's like, nah, I get it. So at that point, she's like, wait a minute, hold on. Actually, I think I can do something about that. And so she goes back to the Amazon. She says, Amazons, I am not your god right now. I am not your queen. I come to you as a sister, and I'm here to tell you, I'm proud of being an Amazon. Like, let's just make that clear. I am very happy to be your sister. But, like, maybe we should stop doing things the old way for, like, literally everything. For instance, our culture has been kind of a problem for a while now. So, this is Zeke. He's a baby boy, and my first claim as Queen of the Amazons is, we're all going to be co-parents to this baby boy. And one of them says like, whoa, 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 whoa. That thing has a penis. And he's just like, yes, he does. But that doesn't matter. We all are going to swear protection over this kid. And Alika speaks up being like, you can't do that. And she's like, I just did. Get over it. So, yeah, she's trying to say everyone show compassion for the baby boy. Then finally, the last scene, we cut back to Hades, who... I always blank on his name. It is the Titan. Is it Uranus? I don't know. The father of Zeus and Hades and all them. He's, of course, still chained up by Hades. Hades just flipping grapes into his mouth. And he's like, see, I got a problem, Dad. I've always been smart enough to avoid the self-fulfilling prophecy stuff. But, like, if I go to war with heaven, a lot of people are going to die, and that'll just make my army bigger. So shouldn't I just go to war because no matter what, I'll definitely win? Like, waiting seems like a mistake. And Firstborn, just out of nowhere, shows up behind Hades and is like, yeah, it was. And he blows out the candles on Hades' head. And that's it. That's the issue. So I think Firstborn might now control the underworld, which is frightening, to say the least. No, I really like this issue. It's definitely a slower paced one. It's just kind of building up. Okay, what is Wonder Woman's relationship with her sisters right now? Obviously, before they were turned into snakes, it was strained to say the least. Now that they have spent months as snakes and have now turned back, I don't imagine it's much better. But, you know, it's moving. There's a little bit of a dynamic there. So overall, I'd say this issue's probably... I'll give it like a flat 7, mostly for the Firstborn stuff. I really like how they're finally making him feel threatening. They spent so long of showing him like chained up. Yes, he was a big brute and he managed to get one over on Apollo, but like now he truly feels menacing. He feels like he is actually able to conquer everything just by brute force alone. So I'm up for seeing how that evolves. I'm up for seeing what Wonder Woman's plan here is. overall, it's a good time, solid 7. Trinity of Sin, Pandora, number 10, written by Ray Fawkes, art by Ig. So, Forever Evil happened. Forever Evil Blight happened. Pandora was wrapped up in all that. I'm not going to recount that. It's safe to say she has a new power within her. So this issue picks up, and real quick, this issue explicitly says that the events of Forever Evil lasted months. Like, months have passed since the crime syndicate showed up, which I feel like goes against everything else that DC continuity is telling me. But sure, whatever, months have passed. And like the world is broken, everything sucks like everywhere, but they are starting to rebuild. And we cut over to Marcus. And if you remember, Marcus is the guy who Pandora basically handed her shattered box to and said, fix this. It's a transdimensional portal. I would like that fixed. And Marcus, he's given up. He's like, I can't do it. There's no way I can fix this. It's beyond my capabilities. I'm useless. And all of a sudden, Pandora walks in. And Marcus is like, oh my God, Pandora, I didn't hear from you once everything went back to normal. I thought maybe you died. And Pandora's like, I literally can't. But here's the thing. I have so much to tell you. And she transforms into like her Super Saiyan form. And she kisses Marcus and says, I love you. And if you're like me, you're wondering, I'm sorry, where was this? What was this? So she explains, all the sins are destroyed. We beat Blight. No need to read those earlier issues. Also, I have a new power set. Marx is like, I see that. Also, you said you love me. What's that about? And she's like, well, I was thinking about it, and throughout all of my life, you've been like reincarnated over and over, and through all the lifetimes, your soul has loved me, and I realize I love you back. So we're going to make it through this. And Marcus is like, okay, but like, were you paying attention during Forever Evil? Like, stuff is crazy. People are dying out there. It is a bad time overall. And she's like, it's all right. We're going to go out and we're going to save everyone. No one else has to suffer. So we then go to Arlington, Virginia, and we meet up with Agent Kincaid, who is one of the people who, before everything that happened in Blight, was going to investigate Pandora on being Pandora. And she is met up with a man named Gabriel Lucas from Shade. And he's just like, hey, look, a bunch of Argus people were killed in Forever Evil. Turns out that Pandora is no longer a top priority. We have other orders, so don't worry about it. Just drop her. Is that clear? I gotta go, though, because I might be a vampire, is what he's basically saying. The sun's coming up and he just disappears in a cloud of smoke. And Agent Kincaid's like, nah, you can tell your bosses to shove it. I'm going to keep going after Pandora. So we go down to Baltimore and they're looking over all the wreckage of the Inner Harbor. And it's just like, oh man, there are survivors out there. We can go, we can get them. And before they can do literally anything, Gigantus shows up, grabs Pandora, just starts beating her into submission. She's like, hey, do you remember when we met up just before you had to tie into Forever Evil Blight? You beat me up and you took out my eye. Well, I've had my eye regrown and now I'm super pissed at you. And she picks up Pandora and Pandora's like, Gigantic, you can't kill me. And she's like, oh no, I'm counting on that. And she picks her up and snaps her spine in half and rips off her legs and throws them aside. And Pandora looks over at the legs and she's like, oh, Jesus, this is pretty gruesome even for me. And Gigantus like, I know, right? But like, you're feeling it all, aren't you? You're going through all the pain, even if you are just going to heal up. So she tosses down Pandora's top half and yeah, that's that. So then we cut over to somewhere in Kentucky where we get car after car is just being stopped by this man who is mass murdering people. And as he walks down this road, every car that comes across him, one of them ends up hitting him. He stands back up. We see it's Vandal Savage. And he just continues to kill all of these people because Pandora, before Blight happened, said, oh, Vandal Savage, you have some good in you. And Savage did not take kindly to that. So, cutting back to Baltimore, Pandora has healed up her legs. And Gigantus is like, all right, let's do that again. And so Pandora goes Super Saiyan, and she does a weird light ball thing. And Giganta's like, what? Okay, you got some fancy armor. I'm still going to rip you in half. But then she looks down and she sees that her heart is glowing. And Pandora gives the whole backstory for Giganta. She's like, oh, your name is Dr. Doris Zuul. You had a, like, immuno disease or something like that. It was going to cause you to be like weak and fragile throughout your life. You didn't have any friends, and you dedicated your life to finding a cure for your disease, and you ended up testing it on yourself before it was ready, and it did make you big and strong, but it also robbed you of your intellect. And you know, it's a whole thing of basically like, oh, you always shut out other people, blah, 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 now you're evil. And Giganta doesn't want to hear it. She's like, nope, shut up, I don't want to hear that, stop it. And she starts kicking over buildings, and Pandora's like, no, you have to listen. There's still hope. You can still be good again. You're not evil deep down. And so she starts freaking out. Marcus comes out with a rocket launcher. He's like, hey, bullets may not work, but this will. Fires it at Giganta's head. And Pandora's like, no, wait. And she jumps in the way of the rocket. And it knocks her into a nearby building. And Marcus is like, what? Pandora, you jumped in the way of the rocket. Let me try again. And he readies up another shot against Giganta, but she is shrunk down and she's, you know, crying. She's like, oh, this is a bad idea. I shouldn't have done this. So Marcus goes over to Pandora and he's like, yo, why'd you jump in the way of a rocket? That was really dumb. And Pandora's like, during Blight, I had a realization that Batman has it right. I can't kill people. It's not the right way of doing things. I have seen now that there is not a person on Earth who is purely evil. Everyone has some good in them that can be redeemed, and I can bring it out of them. That is my mission now. And we end on a 3-panel little progression of Vandal Savage as she's saying that everyone can be redeemed, and Vandal's just looking more and more pissed as he walks towards the camera. So, yep, Pandora versus Vandal Savage. That's the line we're going with. All right, I'm going to give the issue the tiniest bit of credit here, which is to say it does a good job of reminding me what in the hell was going on before Blight, because obviously, this book only had like 3 issues to establish itself before it was wrapped up in all that. So good on it for going back and saying, no, here's what was happening. Like, we had Agent Kincaid, and we had Vandal Savage, and we had Giganta, and she fully lists out like exactly what happened to her in that issue. I appreciate that. However, the problem I have with it coming back is that Pandora says now that she's like, no, we can't kill. I see a different way, blah, blah, blah. Bro, I read Blight. That didn't come up in Blight. Like, at no point was that a thing where, like, she made the conscious decision to say, I will not kill again. So this new characterization is just kind of out of nowhere. I like the fact that Marcus is straight up still in the old mode. He's like, I got a rocket launcher. Let's see if that works. But yeah, no, I kind of just wish it would have done a little bit more to, like, I guess back in Blight just to say, no, Pandora's made this change and she's not going to kill people anymore. But no, beyond that, it's all just set up. We're all just setting up for, like, what are we doing? What's the next couple issues going to be? So we'll see how that turns out. All in all, I give this issue, like, I give it like a 7. It's all right. It's fine. It does feel like it's actually doing something here and setting up something that might be interesting, but I really hope they give Pandora a little bit more interest than her current, like, super sunny positive outlook, because I gotta tell you, this is not interesting of someone who's just like, everything's going to be fine and it's great and hooray. Batman Eternal #2, written by Snyder, Tynion, Fox, Layman, and Seeley, art by Jason Fabok for this issue. So last week we basically just had the inciting incident, which is to say that Gordon, through some hallucination, accidentally seemingly caused 2 trains to collide, killing a whole bunch of people on the Gotham subway. And he is taking full responsibility for that. So we open up in Gotham City Hall where Mayor Haiti is hearing the news being like, Gordon did all this? What's the death count? And everyone's like, it's super high. We're not giving numbers, but it's super high. And it's just like, geez, all right, well, let me put out a statement or something. And he goes into his office, and then all of a sudden there's a shadowy figure saying like, oh, this city's doing exactly what I said would happen 5 years ago. And Haiti's like, oh, it's you. And we'll get back to that. So down in the subway, The rescue's continuing. We go over to the Gotham Gazette where Vicky Vale has got the story written up and that it's definitely Gordon's fault. And they have sources to corroborate that. But everyone's just like, I can't believe Gordon would be responsible for that. He's such a chill dude. There's no way. But the editor-in-chief of the paper is just like, if we've got the sources, we got to get the scoop. It's about to go worldwide in like 5 minutes. We got to do it here first at the Gotham Gazette. And Vicky's like, all right. And she publishes the story. And immediately we see all over the world people reacting to seeing the story. First, we get Batgirl, who hears about the subway accident. She gets her gear on. She's ready to go help. And Batman's like, hey, you should probably hear it from me. Who is possibly responsible for this? And Batgirl's like, who's that? We then see Harper Row hears about it. Red Hood hears about it. Luke and Lucius Fox hear about it. Batwoman hears about it. Tim Drake is in New York beating up a bunch of robots. And he's like, hey, get me the first plane to Gotham. I need to get down there and help. And then someone's like, it sounds like you're in the middle of the fight. You sure you should be talking about this out loud? And he's like, don't worry about it. I built these robots. I don't know what that's tying into. That's just something else. So then we cut inside of the jail cell where currently Gordon's being held. Batman comes in and he's not saying anything. Gordon's just like, just tell me how many people it was. Like, how bad is it? And Batman still doesn't say anything. He's like, Jesus, that high, huh? All right. And Gordon reiterates, he's like, I swear he was holding a gun. I know I saw it, but they printed out the photos. He wasn't. Something I must have just imagined it. And Batman's like, well, hold on. We were fighting Professor Pig. You said that he dosed the kids that were there. Maybe you got dosed too. And Gordon's like, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. He's like, well, we've got a bunch of people who use hallucinogenics, mind control, stuff like that. Something could have affected you. Let me do a blood work to get it figured out and see what was affecting you. And Gordon's like, Batman, you also have to understand I'm not as young as I was and I've gotten 6 hours of sleep over the past 3 days. I might have just messed up. I'm willing to accept that's a possibility here. Just it's maybe don't go overboard on this. And Batman's like, that's not the case, but I'm going to look into it. So we get Haiti and this mystery person up on the roof. And it's just this long sequence where the mystery person's just like, oh, remember, we put you in power all those years ago. It's days before you were even elected. And we told you what Gotham could be. Gordon, he never took the underside. He always insisted on being a good man, quote unquote. But he's an idiot for not taking full advantage of this city. And now it's time for the city to fight back against all these maniacs in costumes. So down in the subway, we start seeing bodies start coming out. And there's an officer there who's like, excuse me, sir, this is a crime scene. You can't be here. And the other person's just like, oh, well, officer, you'll forget that you ever even saw me here. And that it's definitely I'm not here at all. And also you might forget part of 4th grade. But regardless, forget I was here. And we see that the person here is Jim Corrigan, a.k.a. the Spectre. And he's looking around saying, hey, I know something about evil. So then we cut over to Arkham. And we have Dr. Phosphorus, who is now in Arkham. They put out his flames on his body, but now apparently, his insides are still burning. He's still a man made of fire. And he's screaming, saying that he's hearing voices and stuff like that. And they're coming from below. And the orderlies are like, okay, let's go get him some more meds. So they head off. And then all of a sudden, Phosphorus looks behind him and sees just swirling ghosts behind him. And he's just like, oh, remember the call, remember the name. Phosphorus, say it, say my name. And Phosphorus says Blackfire. So we got Deacon Blackfire is also in here. We then cut over to the Gotham Metro Station, specifically the surveillance, the transit authority of it. Catwoman busts in and just checks on Batman, just be like, hey, what's going on? What's happening? And she looks at all the surveillance stuff, and he's just like, I'm helping Jim. Jim's a friend. And Catwoman's like, aren't I your friend? And he's like, no. So she's like, all right, well, that's rude. Anyway, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, the transit authority is off the rest of the grid. I need to plug into it manually and run facial recognition on everybody who's down there, specifically the man who led Gordon to that electrical box. What's his story? And as he runs that guy's face, all of a sudden it pings, they get a hit, and Batman just runs out of the room. And we cut back to Haiti up on top, talking to the shadowy figure, and the figure's just like, oh, this is just the beginning, Haiti. You gotta understand, things are gonna get so much bigger here. And Haiti's like, wait a minute, you're the one who did this to Gordon? He's like, don't ask questions, just roll with the punches here. So Batman calls it in saying like, oh, get the whereabouts of every former associate of, and Catwoman's like, who is it? Tell me, what's so important here? You just ran out of the room. And Batman says, the dude on the tape was a guy named Derek Grady. Derek Grady's not that important, but he was a very, very close associate and left town at the same time that me and Gordon put away his boss, aka Carmine Falcone, which we see, that's who the mystery shadowy figure was talking to Haiti. And we also see that he has 3 scratches on his face, reminding us that him and Catwoman also have a history. So he tells Haiti, like, oh, we're going to get this city right again. We're going to take out all the costumes. So let's get started. If last issue was the inciting incident, this issue is laying down every single plot that we're going to be dealing with over the next 52 weeks. 50 weeks now, I guess, at this point. So we got Deacon Blackfire, we got Spectres in there somehow, Carmine Falcone's a thing. Of course, we got Gordon doing whatever's going on there. We got the whole Bat family's involved. They're all coming to Gotham. So, yeah, whole lot's happening. Looking forward to seeing how it's all going to turn out here. I love the art. Jason Fabok's fantastic. So, overall, it's a good issue. Solid setup. I think they may have spent a bit too long of playing up like, who's the man in the shadows? But it works for like a weekly series. You just breeze past it and then you forget it even happened. So overall, I think this is like a 7.5. It doesn't feel right to say it's an 8 since it's all just set up, but it is good. It is a nice solid issue. So looking forward to the rest, and we'll catch back up with it next week. And that's it. That's all the books put out by DC Comics this April 16th, 2014. And I don't really have much more to add here on the end. It's less than 24 hours to my flight. I am still needing to get packed, at least all the essentials. So, yeah, just a little bit of nerves as I talk about it. I'm not afraid of flying. I want to make that clear. When I'm in the air, I'm fine. I could totally relax. It's the taking off and landing parts that are the problems, because statistically, when a plane is on the ground, that's where most crashes happen. So, yeah. Anyway, let me tell you what's coming out next week. Next week, we got another 13 comics. And again, I should be able to release the episode on time, but I am only getting back like a day and a half before the release date. So it might be a bit rushed. I might be a little bit out of it. I will be jet lagged out of my mind. So please forgive me if next week's episode is weird. Anyway, comics coming out next week. We have, in no particular order, Catwoman, Batman/Superman, Superman, Larfleeze, Red Lanterns, Aquaman, The Flash, Justice League United, Secret Origins, All-Star Western, Teen Titans, Justice League Dark, and Batman Eternal. So I started reading that before I even knew what was on it. Hey, we got 2 new comics coming out. Crazy. Justice League United, which is essentially the follow-up series to Justice League of America, which is weird considering I think we still have 1 full issue of that book left. I don't know how you have a follow-up before the first issue. It's weird. Anyway, that and Secret Origins, which is going to be a problem because that is an anthology book where I think they do 3 different superhero/supervillain origins each issue. I've never been good at covering anthologies on this show. It's always a little bit awkward, but I will do my very best. Anyway, all that's coming up next week. If you have any thoughts on any of the comments, Sorry, one more time. If you have any thoughts or comments on any of the comics that I came out with this week, last week, any week at all, go ahead and hit me up in any of the social media places or the comments down below. We got a subreddit, we got a Discord, we got a Patreon. Blah, blah, blah. Spend money on us. That's about the most I could say for that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, listening, however it is you consume this podcast. Be sure to give it a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is that the freaking algorithm wants from me nowadays. And always try to remember, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.